Hello, I'm Chris from Userdoc, and I want to take you through Userdoc's requirements feature. The requirements are what you see on the left-hand side here, so we're looking at some user stories, but you can also have non-functional requirements and also epics. So these were just generated by our project wizard, but we can also create entirely new requirements. So say we want to create a new user story, we can come here and we want to type in a name. So this is for a medical system. We say we want to cancel appointment. And we select the user type for this user story, a patient, and we'll use AI to help generate this user story, although we could type it ourselves. So this all makes sense. It seems like a good user story. And then next is the acceptance criteria. So this is what needs to happen for this feature to be complete. So I've just generated that by AI, and this looks good. It shows a list of appointments. When cancel is clicked, it shows a confirmation. It then takes you back to view appointment history. So Userdoc understands the other features of the system and really also takes all of this into account. Now, this is great, and we can go ahead and save it. We can add some labels, which are ad hoc information. We can add a resource, which might be a design, a UI design or something like this. And this is just a link to wherever that lives externally. And then we can go ahead and save that requirement. So that's the user story created. It shows you on the right the stories that it links to, because you're making an interactive map between different features so people can navigate, and you can click on those and move back and forth. But if we want to update this user story in the future, we simply click edit and we can make our changes. So let's say we want AI to help us make those changes. So we can click change using AI. And we can say send email confirmation. So we don't have that at the moment. So AI will now help us make this change. So it's going to come back, and you can see in green, this is the changes that it's done. So it sends an email notification to the patient. So I can accept those changes, and that's now been made, and I save them. We also have full versioning in Userdoc. So I can go back and view the different versions over time. So I can see what has changed and who changed it and when. Now we can also synchronize these requirements once we're done to Jira. So I can click up on the synchronize button and I go send to Jira, and in a couple of seconds it will appear here, and I'll just pop that open. In the new tab we see this is the information that was sent to Jira. So a link to the story, the acceptance criteria with those links, and down the bottom the resources we've created. So whenever you make any changes, you make it in Userdoc first, as it's the source of truth, and then you simply update with Jira and it'll resynchronize those across. So along with user stories, we can also create non-functional requirements. So these might be for things like performance, scalability, security. So let's say performance at this stage. Performance. And again, we'll use Userdoc to help generate this description, although we could do it ourselves. So it's talking about fast response times, efficient processing, maintaining constant performance under varying loads. That seems perfect. Now we'll help generate the acceptance criteria here. And it's going to come back and it's going to use best practice standards. It's going to say it needs to load within 2 seconds for these many users, this many concurrent users and so on. Now, we would most likely want to change this here, but this is a great first draft of what the requirements should be for this non-functional requirement. Now, if we want to make, let's say example, like I'll delete this and let's start again. Let's say we want to generate with AI, but I want to put in some context this time. And you can do this with user stories and anything else as well on Userdoc. So I want to say must load within, I forget what it was before, but let's say it has to load within 1 second. That's a hard requirement. And also must support 25,000 concurrent users. So we can generate the AI, but we've had our human input. So by entering that context, the AI will know this by default, and it'll come back and it'll have these in place. So it must be scalable to support that many users and must support 1 second response time. So that's the non-functional requirements. Other than that, they're exactly like user stories. You can add resources, labels, you can sync with Jira and so on. Now you can group these requirements by epics. So epics are commonly they're large user stories. Your epic might be authentication or similar, and you can save these epics and they'll appear at the top, and you can simply at the top of your requirements list, and then you can simply group your requirements in that. So in authentication, we may have login, account recovery, register, etc. So they're the main constructs of the requirements in Userdoc. You can export these. You can synchronize it with other systems. You can also ask questions of the requirements. So you can say, what are the performance metrics? So let's say you've never used this system before. and you're coming to Userdoc. So right here it says performance metrics, loads within 1 second, scalable to 25,000 users, etc. And it tells us exactly the stories which it gets this from. So we can make sure that our information is grounded in truth, and people can ask any questions at any time, whether the system's too complex and you forget how it works, or whether you're new and onboarding onto this project. So that was a super quick example of the requirements parts of Userdoc. There's quite a bit more, but I want to keep this video short, so thank you very much.